Welcome, everybody, to our third episode of our SCD series. Today, we're going to talk about least restrictive environment and course of study for our secondary students in those 7 through 12 grade band. This webinar will be very similar to episode 2 when we did the same area for our younger kiddos in that K through 6th grade band. My name is Ginger Kessler, and I'm joined by my colleagues Denise Harrison, who's a professional development coordinator, and Bobby Richardson, another office director in the Office of Special Education.
Every presentation we make includes the Mississippi Department of Education's vision and mission. We believe it is important to keep front and center our vision for creating a world-class educational system that equips every student with the knowledge and skills to be successful in college and the workforce. Our mission at the State Department of Education is to provide leadership through the development of policy and accountability systems so that all of our students are prepared to compete in a global community.
Our goal for this session together is to offer y'all strategies for instruction of students with significant cognitive disabilities in their least restrictive environment.
Now we're going to discuss some strategies for our middle school and high school students. The first strategy that we are going to discuss are visual supports. These are extremely important when we want our students to become independent and successful in their environment. This can even mean going from a self-contained classroom to a general education classroom, because we know that's where we want most of our students. And all of our students need to spend at least some time in the general education classroom. So what can you do to provide them those supports that maybe will help them remember, for that memory recall of what the procedures and routines or even the rules in that classroom that they will be in? You can see here an example. This was made with BoardMaker Online. It's just a recipe. What do you think that is? Well, if you guessed chocolate milk, you're right. That is how to make chocolate milk. On the right, you see a schedule that can be slipped in a binder and that they can use that all day, and they will not need to be asking someone. They can just remember where they go next.
Another great strategy that we can use for our students with significant cognitive disabilities are peer supports. Some of us, y'all, we call that the buddy system. It's been around forever. But those peer supports provide our students with significant disabilities increased academic and social emotional skills. It gives them a model to which to interact with. It gives them greater access to that general education curriculum, and it gives them an opportunity to be part of a group. So y'all, with these, we might have to work with our peer buddy to kind of let them know like some strategies or some ways to interact with our students with significant disabilities. But y'all, it's a great opportunity for both of the students involved.
Scaffolding and instruction is a great tool in the classroom for students with significant cognitive disabilities. This can also be used for guidance and support. Sometimes, as a teacher, I would look at the standards, and a lot of them said with guidance and support, but I wasn't really clear what kind of guidance and support they were talking about. So if you can see here, our bottom tier is the non-engagement. And I think about these students that are in a wheelchair with no mobility, maybe they're nonverbal, and so we just do everything for them. We give them the answers, we tell them what's going on, we show them, we just do everything for them. But we want to maybe phase that out and then maybe just do the physical assistance. And you know, this to me looks like hand over hand. I know that's a term that we've used forever in special education, but it can be more than hand over hand. It can be maybe helping them walk up the stairs, or anything physically that you do with a student to help them gain access to the environment or instruction. The next lesser instruction or scaffolding would be gestural assistance. When we're teaching, maybe we just need to point to something, or we can mostly just point to something. But the next one would be that verbal assistance. You just give them that verbal prompt. The next lesser would be just modeling it. You show them what to do and then they can do it. I know we have a lot of students that they kind of fall right here in that modeling assistance. But you know, you can go back and forth on this scale. It's not like once you get to the modeling that then you can't go back to the physical. Of course you can. You just do what's best for each individual student, giving them more or less as needed, because what we want is independence.
Another strategy or suggestion that I used in my classroom, y'all, every single year I had a calming corner, but it's to create a calming area. This is just a place in your classroom that's quiet, it's cozy, it's where students can go to just take a few breaths, get back into their routine, and calm down from whatever situation's going on. I've had students use the calming area or the quiet area when an assignment became too difficult, or when there was just too much stimulation, when it was loud. A lot of times we used it whenever our routine would get messed up, or we would have like a fire drill, things like that. I knew when that was over, I could send one of my students over to that calming area. They could kind of get themselves together, and then they were ready to go for the rest of the day. I know that this has been an area with COVID that has has been a little bit more difficult. We have very strict rules about things that are allowed in our classroom, or the seating arrangement, things like that. So y'all, but as we come out of it, this may be a really good opportunity for you to create this environment for your students.
As we have already stated, it is very important for our students with SCD eligibilities to be in those general education classrooms and to be learning from the content area teachers, the other students. And embedded instruction is just another way to say transfer of skills. When a student is taught something in a self-contained classroom, we want to make sure that they are transferring those skills to other environments in the school and even in the community or in their home. So we just don't want to, it's like a one and done. We don't want to just have them memorize something just to do it for an assessment or observation, but we want them to learn how to use those skills in all environments.
Our last strategy that we're going to talk about is the one that we talk about with all of our students, regardless of disability status or SCD eligibility. It's just good teaching. We need to make sure that we're providing good, positive feedback and have good procedures in our classroom. Positive feedback from teachers in a timely manner increases our students' motivation, and it increases their efforts towards their learning task. So y'all, we teach our procedures, we give our students opportunity to engage in that good behavior, and then we let them know that we're proud of them or that they did a good job for showing us those good behaviors. The next area we're going to spend a few minutes talking about are our course of study for our students with significant cognitive disabilities.
The Mississippi Alternate Academic Achievement Standards. It's a mouthful to say. These are new standards as of 2018. I know it says 2019, but some of them were in 2018. And I want to first say this. If you have any essential elements or DLM standards in your classroom, chunk them in the garbage. We no longer use them in the state of Mississippi. We now have these. When we talk about course of study for our secondary students that have an SCD eligibility, these are the classes that they should be taking if they are on the alternate diploma track. You can see here. I'm going to give you a minute to look. If you need to pause the video, go ahead. In addition to the previous courses you saw, these are also required with the alternate diploma, along with 1 art and 2 electives. As a teacher, you may have been a little stressed to see all those courses that you were required to teach for all of your SCD students on the alternate diploma track. However, we have some great news for you. There are courses that can be substituted for those courses, and those are general education courses. Testing courses are not allowable substitutions. However, there are many courses on that list that I just showed you that are allowed to be substituted for. So what I want you to do is pause the video, use the QR code, and find Appendix A10. It's a really big document. So A10 starts around page 92, depending on what technology you're using. That will show you all the courses that are allowable to substitute. So send those kiddos to that general education classroom, and you can be teaching the other courses. I hope that's good news for you. It is good news for us here at MDE. And we know for the students on the Certificate of Completion track that are SCD, that they are mostly doing functional skills, life skills, but they are required to take these 3 courses if they are using the Certificate of Completion track. This is new, so I just want to make sure I say that again. These 3 courses are required if they are on the Certificate of Completion track.
A resource that we want to make sure that you guys are aware of, that as directors you have, or as teachers that you have in your hand and you're implementing in your classroom, are these teacher resource guides. So depending on when you're listening to this video, we have teacher resource guides for all subject areas, except for our K-8 ELA, and they will be available in the first thing in the month of July of 2021. So depending on when you're listening to this, all of our teacher resource guides are either on their way or they have already been published. So now let's take just a second and let me talk you through where to find our teacher resource guides. If you'll go to MDE's website and to the special education page, over on the right-hand side, there are links. If you'll go to information and publications and scroll down just under the alternate standards are these teacher resource guides. So y'all, let's talk a little bit about what our teacher resource guides include or what they do. They allow our teachers to customize content to fit each student's need. Y'all, we are special educators. That is the crux of what we do. Everything that we provide instruction or tailor their education fits to our students' needs, our individual students' needs. These teacher resource guides offer you strategies or offer you help in doing that. They include suggested activities, instructional strategies, and they even include sample lessons and resources for you guys to make sure that we're meeting our standards for our students. They include adaptations for our students with a varying range of disabilities within our classroom. So as we know, what we do for one student doesn't necessarily work for another student. So the teacher resource guides includes a variety of things that you can do to make sure that you're meeting the needs of all your kiddos.
Once you find your teacher resource guides and the content area that you want to look at, we're going to look at this. And I want to say that I know I referred to throw the EEs away. This slide, if you can see, is teacher resource guide and they have the EE on there. Some of our teacher resource guides still say EE, but not the standards. That will be updated soon. This one is reading literature, and it is 9th and 10th grade. And you can see how they have taken the standard, they have made a performance objective, and our ICANN statements are just they have taken that performance objectives and they have made it into least or most complex. Wherever your students may go, this is called differentiated instruction or scaffolding instruction. It's a great way to do the same activity but have different variations when you're teaching your students in your classroom. It gives you real-world connections, and we know research has told us that real-world connections are the best way for students to learn and remember strategies. Also, it has a vocabulary. It also gives us resources and then activities. These are, when you see the links, those are live links. If you're teaching virtually, you can just click on that virtual that link when you're teaching virtually and it just pops up, or even if you're in your classroom using your computer, your iPad on your smartboard, it will just pop up for you. Have fun and go and look at all those resources that have been made just for you.
As we go through this webinar series, y'all don't forget you can send us your questions and we'll address them in episode 8. Our email for you to submit those questions is spedta@mdek12.org.
We'd like to thank you guys for joining us today, and we hope you've enjoyed this episode of our SCD webinar series. If the Office of Professional Development or MDE's Office of Special Education could be of any assistance, we encourage you to reach out. We're here to help. Make sure you're on the lookout for all the rest of our episodes, and we look forward to the rest of the series with y'all.